I'd like to welcome everybody to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting for Tuesday, October 4th, 2022 at 3 p.m. I would like to let Madam Clerk know all 5 commissioners are in attendance, along with our county finance officer, our county attorney, and our county manager, Madam Clerk. I would remind everyone to please silence your mobile or electronic devices. And when you come to the podium, beforehand, make sure the red light is on, so those folks watching on YouTube can hear what you have to say. Gentlemen, the first order of business is approval of the agenda that was sent out previously. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Abley. All those in favor signify with uplifted hands. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. We'll move on to item number 3, presentations. Pet of the Month. This will be presented by our friend Caitlin Suttlemeyer, Animal Services Director. Caitlin, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks again for having us for another month of presenting our Pet of the Month. We will be presenting our October Cat and Dog of the Month for everyone and promoting adoptions and advocating for spay-neuter within our community.
Wonderful, gentlemen. Any questions, comments for Caitlin? Are we still pretty full?
Yes, we're very, very full. Animal control's working. A few big properties right now, some that need some major medical care that need to be in our shelter. So right now we're working on moving all of our adoptable animals out to adoptable homes or foster care. So if anybody can foster or is looking to adopt, please come down and see us today.
Absolutely. And at the regular meeting, I'm assuming, I think you have a couple of upcoming events or an upcoming event I think Kay had mentioned. So.
Yeah, we are participating in the health department's event in October, the beginning of October, so that'll happen before the next scheduled agenda meeting. And of course, we always do a bunch of events around the holidays, so you'll hear all about that coming up.
Caitlin, you want to talk about the Pet Palooza, November 19th and 20th?
Yes, our foundation, we received a grant for education, so we are partnering with our Animal Services Foundation to have a big Pet Palooza event at the Crosslink Church. The first day is going to be education-based. We're going to have a bunch of fun videos that are educational. We're going to be serving food. So if you attend this, you will receive a free rabies vaccine voucher the following day to have your dog or cat vaccinated against rabies. We will be doing dogs only at the event on the 20th, and we will honor that voucher at Animal Services for our cats so we can do it in a safer, confined area. So those are going to be free rabies vaccines for people who attend that educational event.
What's it cost to spay and neuter?
And a spay neuter animal clinic, we have a few low-cost resource options through Reason. I don't want to quote their prices directly, but the last handout we had, if you qualify, it's either $18 or $36. At the clinics, if you pay outright, I think the most expensive is a dog spay, and it's about $85.
Okay. That's a good question, Mr. Chairman. Is there a discount for multiple?
For multiple animals, not usually, no. That price at a spay neuter clinic is generally discounted as low as they can go.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, gentlemen? And please remind us when we're at our regular meeting so the public can hear when they tune in about that upcoming event as well. Please.
Absolutely. We'll have all of that on there for everybody to see.
Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda under presentations. We'll move on to item number 2, recognition of employee certification. This will be presented by our friend Stephanie Norman, Register of Deeds. Stephanie, how are you, ma'am?
I'm good. Good afternoon. I come before you today to recognize 3 of my staff for being certified by the North Carolina Association of Register of Deeds. Shortly after I took office, I set a goal for the staff in my office to become certified so that they would be the most qualified at their jobs as they could be. To be certified as an assistant or deputy register of deeds, one has to be in office at least 1 year before applying for certification. They must attend the Basic School of Register of Deeds at the UNC School of Government and pass an examination with a score of 70% or higher. Plus, they have to complete at least 50 hours of approved instruction within 5 years of that application, or work for 4 consecutive years as a full-time assistant or deputy or register of deeds. And this may sound easy enough, but it's rather a robust process. For an example, the approved North Carolina Association of Register of Deeds workshop that lasts the entire day is only worth 2 credit hours. But it's only offered 1 time a year. So once certified, an assistant or deputy register of deeds must continue acquiring at least 5 educational credits to remain certified. And these ladies rose to the challenge and met the goal of being certified this year, and I couldn't be prouder. So I'd like for you to help me congratulate Tyra Duckworth, who will be certified as an assistant register of deeds. Trista Annis will be certified as a deputy register of deeds, and Kim Thronebird will be certified as a deputy register of deeds.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions, comments, gentlemen?
Great.
Congratulations.
That's fantastic. And those young ladies will be joining us?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank
Stephanie,
you.
thank you. Well, gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda under presentations. We'll move on to item number 3, community development, presentation on the Fauna Flora Trail. This will be presented by Alan Glines, our Deputy County Manager, Planning Director. Alan, how are you, sir?
I'm great, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the Commission, members of the public. Happy to give you an update on Fauna Flora. Last time we were here was in, I would say, about February or so. We provided a map, this map for 2022. So I'll let you know what we're working on and how things are going. The first one, actually 0 on the map, was down there in the bottom there. We're working with Wildlife Resources to do a new boat launch there. And they, from what I understand, they haven't started yet, but it is funded and they expect to complete that work. Number 1 on our map here is the PARDF grant, Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. Now, this is the one that was revived at the end of last year. We were ready to turn the money back in, but we've worked over the year to try to complete that work. We provided surveys, values, met with property owners, that sort of thing, did appraisals, and we were pretty ready to do a closing this month. And our seller ended up selling his property to somebody else. So we've contacted the PARDF folks in Raleigh and let them know that we've had this challenge, and they're going to notify us on any other activities or actions on that. Now, what we hope to do is, at a future date, if we want to reapply to PARDF, we will be able to do so without prejudice to this grant. The water mill access, that's number 3 there. This project is a partnership with Burke County and the Wildlife Resources Commission. It is completed now. We've had a presentation on that. The site is open for use by boaters, and we expect a ribbon cutting forthcoming. We'll be planning for that, so that will be something coming up. The Bridgewater easements, this is that area down at the bottom of the lake, areas 3 and over. It includes the state trail between Patty Creek Dam, the Bridgewater crossing section, and the North Bend section. And we've had a number of meetings this year with Duke Energy and Wildlife Resources Commission as partners in this effort. What's happening is Duke is transferring quite a bit of land to Wildlife Resources, and we still have an easement in there for the Fauna Flora Trail. We hope to make that connection and continue our good work with our partners, and so those discussions are still ongoing about that. Canal Bridge, number 4 on that map. It's a great project. It really connects the trail on the north side and the trail on the back side. On the south side of that bridge is crucial. It also includes that section of the Over Mountain Victory Trail. So we've been working on that. these are different partners, but we have a partnership with the DOT, state parks. Also, the state parks folks have been great. And so we're working out funding on that improvement with two other partners, the Over Mountain Victory Trail folks and also Fauna Flora State Trail folks, both of whom have received some funds from the state directly, direct appropriation. We hope to share in the cost of that, and those discussions and planning work is going well. The engineers are working with the DOT to assure that the solution we'll have, which will cross that bridge, there's an extra shoulder, that it won't, shifting that traffic or anything won't cause any problems. Harris Wisnet Trailhead, that's number 5 on the map. It'll be an eventual parking area and trailhead, and the site's been surveyed. Now we have more work to do on that, including final design and letting of that project. The county park, we were going to work on, that's number 6 on the map. We wanted to kind of understand and study new assets for the park, and we'll have a little more information later in this later today in the agenda. But there's continuing interest from residents and park users for a playground facility. You all received some emails for that earlier in the year. Staff have developed a concept for a playground towards the center of the park along Eagle Nest Way, and this proposal would include a playground, picnic area, and restrooms. There will also be a loop lakefront trail access area, and these amenities over time have been something that people wanted to see out there. The idea is that we would apply for this Department of Commerce Rural Transformation Grant in the category of neighborhood resiliency. And the point of that grant is during COVID, how were communities affected by COVID? Well, as we kind of all know, as a lot of folks, when things shut down, they went outside and they looked for parks in their communities to kind of partake in and take their families out and that sort of thing. So we think that if there was any other kind of emergency like that, that a playground and park here would be helpful. So we want to submit for them for that. Also, Duke Energy is in the very early plans of their motorized boat launch, and this would be at the end of the point. And I'll show you that on a map when we get a little more detail on that. But they hope to do some planning work on that starting in 2024, but it would replace that Linville access area. Linville access would become non-motorized boating access, and so Fauna Flora County Park would serve as the motorized facility. So it's kind of a neat project there.
How much would the Commerce grant be for?
Commerce grant would be asking for about $900,000. And what it does is this allows us to, if we were successful, we would do design work, engineering work, and do the whole kind of gamut. But we've done this preliminary plan to try to get some ideas on what that might look like. The next item, number 7 on the map, is the 1780 subdivision and the Enclave subdivision are just a little north of there. We hope to continue Fauna Flora, and this is over Mountain Victory Trail as well, to the border and boundary with McDowell County and continue that work. And so what we have to do here is some resurvey work to try to get that alignment, try to work out. And there was an initial alignment which proved to be a little challenging as far as topo. We want to reassess that, rework it. So that would be our next work, and we're on board to get that survey work completed. Okay, Fauna Flora State Park. Boy, they've done some amazing work up there, if you haven't seen it. They're involved in the sections of the trail on their property, and as I said, they've been a great recreation resource for the county. State Park staff have also been involved in portions of the trail on both sides of Canal Bridge. So they'll kind of make that connection. We cross the bridge and they'll do the north and south connections on their portions of the state park. And also, they've helped us with some Benfield Landing Road right through the crossing there. That butts into the roadway there, and they'll help us make that connection and crossing. Lake James Camping Resort, that's just below 4 on that map. They've been great partners. This is the private part of the trail, and they've been great neighbors to allow us to come on their property, rework some easement areas, and they're real excited to have us as a permanent neighbor to their facility there. And then finally, the Linville Dam.
Before you go on, I want you to give me just a little bit more information about the Lake James Camping Resort and what they are and how they're tying into the trail.
A little bit more info. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So I got this thing. There we go. So they own. Oops, I think I did not mean to do that. Let me go back. Sorry. There it is. They have the property right through here. I don't know the total acreage. It's quite long though. I want to say it's about a half a mile crossing from the state park property through their tracts of land in several places, and then it'll get us down from. So we'll go from below 4 here. This is state parks. So this is part of their section of state, Lake James State Park. We'll come this way, and then right about here on, we're on the Lake James Camping Resort folks. We're on their property all the way through here. So they have a new facility here they've opened up it's on the west side of Benfield's Landing Road. This is an RV park. They have a whole facility through there. They're going to have some features there, and they'll be for folks coming in and out for camping with their RVs, but also some people I think will set up there permanently. But it'll have some amenities there, and then it links over the road, crosses the road in 2 places, but it'll cross right about here, right across from their campground. Now, we also go by their campground right about here, so we have several areas of interaction with Lake James, and they've been very supportive of the trail.
Will we be meandering through the RV park itself?
We follow the main road through there. We kind of come in on the main road, and then we use the Duke Energy transmission lines. We kind of go through there. That's also their property, but we have to travel through that. It's been like kind of needling that through their development area, because they do have quite a few sites prepared for that area there, and we'll be kind of threading through that. So I think it'll be a nice experience.
Do you know how many sites they have?
I don't know all the details on that. I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me. Maybe 50 to 75. Seems about right, looking at their.
112.
How much?
112.
112. All right. And then finally, Lake Linville Dam Boardwalk. I know this is, we have a lot of the same names used again and again, but this is sort of the Linville Dam area. What do you think about that? Right here. And that dam, we plan to put a boardwalk across the top of that dam. And so it'll be a nice feature to get people near the water, overlook the water, and kind of a great view looking kind of north to the mountain range there. So that is in engineering, and you can imagine if you're going to affect the dam at all, that takes a lot of engineering resources to study that, and that's what's happening now. We've got a contract with Mattern and Craig out of Hickory, and they're doing the engineering work on that, and they've submitted plans and documentations to Duke Energy. Duke will review them and then also forward them on to federal regulators.
So FERC, we never know how long it's going to take with FERC. I mean, you have any idea? I mean, I know it'd be a guesstimate because you're dealing with a federal agency, but still, how much do you think that would put us, that could possibly hold up that section, time-wise?
It will, it's probably a 6-month process for that.
So it's not that bad, okay.
It's not years out.
It's not several years?
No.
Okay.
They have a good concept on how that boardwalk's going to work. They're going to make a kind of a T element that will cantilever that deck across it, so they'll have one point of contact with the dam itself. It's real interesting, but I think it'll be a kind of a real hands-on experience where folks can, be ADA accessible, so anyone in a wheelchair could also use this decking and all. But it'll be a beautiful element and a nice feature there at the dam.
Is that near, I know we proposed at one point, was it a Eagle's Nest right there? I know one
Yes,
was
sir.
proposed for the park, and then the one was proposed down there along the dam or on that
Yeah.
section down
I'm
there.
sorry I'm pointing at Caitlin here, but really I'm trying to point above her head. Right about there would be that Eagle's Nest feature, and it would be
Okay, so it's
basically-
just past that.
Yeah, it
I was
is.
trying to get it, I knew it was along that section.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a great opportunity to have something, try to get a little promontory and look out over the top of Lake
But
James.
that's still in our master plan.
It is, it's a few, if I went up this thing, maybe it's 23, 24, it'd be beyond. Well, we've got it starting, at number 18 there, we're noting that that would be kind of beginning some study in 24.
Do we anticipate any issues of parking at the trailheads? It appears that this is going to be another tremendous asset to the county after we complete it. So did we make good plans for parking at the trailheads?
Well, it's still ongoing, as you know, but we'll have a number of different features, so some people will park and ride the trail, but some people will park here, and then when they come over to this feature, they'll park at that feature. So we're hoping to kind of keep some parking throughout and disperse it along the trail across the lake. So we don't have it just in one spot. We've got some good parking, up there at Fauna Flora County Park, but we'll have another parking section kind of towards the center. If we're successful with this playground and bathroom and picnic area, we'll have another parking area there for those users. But each one will have some amount of parking, I think, as we go along. We can't build a feature without having parking lots, because I think people will just park on the side of the road and do the best they can.
The Harris Wisnett Park, and Johnny's question brings me up to that. I know, for some reason, I thought that was pretty much complete. We're talking about that small piece of property we bought at the beginning of the year, and I know it's going to be limited parking. If I'm not mistaken, it's roughly a dozen parking places.
It's about a dozen spaces
And
there.
so, what's been the holdup? Because I thought that would be open by now.
Well, just the timing, just having enough time to put together we did get funding at the year end, beginning of the year here, we did put a budget amount in there for an expected expense, but we need to take that to the next step, which would be
We anticipate that being open by early spring.
Yeah, I think we
Okay,
can.
that's my question. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Alan, a couple of questions, if you can go back up to the Powerhouse Road project. And I don't know if you recall the old commercials for Hertz.
For who?
For Hertz,
Hertz.
I hates to wait. Well, I hates, and that's bad English, but it's to reference a point. I hates to give money back that you've already done the hard work to get. So a couple of questions on that. And the first one would be, is there any way that grant money can be reassigned to a like project or anything?
Some grants allow that, not this one in this case. What we've asked them to do is, we're well ahead of our final closeout date, so we've notified them of the problem. We've let them know, good communication, and they hopefully in the future will let us reapply when we have an appropriate project that could be met in the time frame allotted to it.
How about that minimal road? It was not wide enough to meet the requirements?
Yes, sir. There was no right-of-way. Powerhouse Road is an old road, and DOT did not own any excess right-of-way along the sides of that paved area, so we had to try to secure some easements from neighboring property owners. And we had good conversations with about 5 or 6 owners, and some folks were, I'm not really sure if I want you in front of my house. That was one with the trail. One person was like, I'm kind of interested, but I don't want to be the first one to sign up. So that was kind of a problem. Then we had someone who said, yeah, I'll sell you my land, land for a trailhead, maybe parking, and some access area in front. And then when we got ready to close the deal, he was unhappy with the amount we were able to pay. And he went with he just offered it to somebody else. We had one property that we were kind of counting on to be a key property for the trail itself, and there's no good title on that property. There's not been a deed recorded for that property since like 1890. So that has loss of heirs, no heirs. So, we spent a lot of time on it and did some good research, but we'll just have to go back to the drawing board on that one. I don't have a good answer of what we're going to do instead at this moment, but we'll have to spend a little time on it.
Just for the record, what is the minimal requirements for the property?
For like a right-of-way area?
Yes.
You know what, it would be nice to be about 5 or 6 feet separate from the outside travel lane. Give ourselves a little space there, and then put our trail in, which would be about 6 feet. So we need about you know, 14 feet, 15 feet would be ideal. And we would sort of hug the outside edge of that to create not necessarily a fencing buffer, but some sort of a spacing buffer. So when families are out there and they've got their kids and whatnot on a bike, we don't have traffic going so fast, so close to them. That would be our ideal.
In your process of sending this notice, are you going to ask for an extension on that project?
There's no way to ask for extension on this Part F grant. This
No
is
way.
it. This was it. A year ago, when I got here, I think you guys were talking about that extension, and that was the one, they gave us 1 extra year to try to wrap it up. So we thought we had it. We thought we were successful on that.
Okay. Final question. How is this going to impact the rest of the trail, and especially like the country park and, county park and the playground area? How much impact is this going to have?
This one section, it's only the section around number 1 here, so the impact is limited just to that edge. So we'll have to keep working on that to try to find a good alternative for the trail. And we'll just see where it goes. I'm not sure right now, but it won't affect anything else. Everything else is going well.
Okay. But if I can't use that, I can't go on around. I have to go around the other way, correct?
Yeah, we'll have a gap, unless you use the street, just use the road. But not everyone will want to ride along Powerhouse Road. You know how narrow that can be.
If we come back a little bit off of the lake, you reckon it would be feasible?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to do some study on it. This just happened the other week, and we haven't had a chance to really spend any time on it.
Like I said, I hate to see us lose the money in
Yeah.
the grant, so thank you for the answers.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. One last question.
Yes, sir.
Alan. This is just an old question from years ago. I know, when we collaborate with the folks at Lake James State Park, and they've been great partners, but at one time, the width of our trail and the width of their trails were different. Is that still true? Because they're helping out with sections, and I know what we're looking at, bikes passing one another, having certain footage, and then our interpretation of width of trail and their interpretation of width of trail was different. Is that still hold true?
Well, they have their standards that they're going to follow. They're great partners. I think they feel like they're providing enough for the type of trail use they get. They have enough width. They don't have the high volume areas because they have a lot of. You can see on their connections, theirs are miles long. I mean, not everyone's going to take that. Ours are kind of like the high use, high density kind of sections of trail. We want those to be really good, kind of wide sections, because we're actually putting features in like parking and bathrooms and and different features, overlooks and things. So we know we're generating some good traffic on our trail. We're going to need that to be a little wider. We might just be a little out of sync with them, but they're still doing good trail work for what they feel like they need to for the use they're getting in the middle of some of their park areas.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, gentlemen? As you can tell, everybody gets interested when we bring up the trail.
I know. I understand that completely. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, Alan. Well, gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda under presentations. We'll move on to item number 4, Burke County, let's see, for Tony Stevenson, Chamber of Commerce, and inaugural litter sweep results, and I was at that celebration yesterday for over an hour.
Oh, wow.
So,
Great. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a placeholder for Tanya Stevenson, the president of the Burke County Chamber. She will be here at your regular meeting to report on the results of their inaugural Litter Sweep Week, and hopefully we can recognize some team captains that participated in that event and won some prizes, and maybe give them a commemorative Burke County walking stick.
which we will need 5 of, by the way. I don't know if she's told you that, but
Oh, I can cover that though.
we had 3 second-place ties, so
Awesome.
a lot of participation. Gentlemen, questions, comments? If not, okay, thank you. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda and our presentations. We'll move on to section 4, scheduled public hearings, BDI, building reuse grant for Project PET and public hearing. And we'll have Ms. Hope Hopkins from BDI share with us. Hope, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I hope you all are doing well. BDI is asking for assistance for Project VET in the way of a building reuse grant. This company has been in the community for quite some time. They will be expanding and hiring 30 new employees. Those salaries meet or exceed our county average wage, and they will also be paying at least 50% of the health care benefits. The city of Morganton already adopted or approved this at their last meeting. The building reuse grant will be for $200,000. It requires a 5% match, which would be $10,000 or $5,000 each.
Thank you, Hope. Gentlemen, questions, comments? And without objection, this item will remain on the agenda under public hearings. We'll move on to item number 2, which Hope will also present. This is a resolution for sewer grant for Unix Drive LLC.
Yes. In July of this year, the commissioners approved moving forward with an application through the industrial development funds to extend the sewer. As part of the application, we are required to adopt a resolution, which basically is acknowledging that the grant will be awarded to the county and that all the criteria as far as overseeing will be held by the county.
Thank you, Hope. Gentlemen, questions, comments?
Hope I understand that this is not a cash outlay for the county, but will be taken as tax credits to the company once they get up and rolling. Is that correct? In other words, we're not having to draft money out of our fund to pay this $5,000. Is that what it was? I believe it was.
Oh, that's for Project VET.
Yes.
Yes, that would be coming out of general funds as it was not appropriated.
Okay. And the second question I had to item on Unix Drive there, this is for more money to do a water line and a sewer line, I'm assuming. And I think the question is that, you know, this is a joint effort on that industrial park. And I've asked this question about the other projects too. What other entities, like, let's see, there's 4 of us involved in this agreement. Will they be sharing in that cost, or is that going to be 100% cost to the county?
So it will be exactly like the water tank, where the funds will come from the county. Once revenue is coming in at the business park, the county will be dispersed or reimbursed funds first, along with then the city of Morganton for the water tank, and then the county would also be reimbursed for the funds up front on this grant.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gentlemen, any other questions, comments? All right, Hope, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda for public hearings. This brings us to item number 3, community development ordinance calling for a moratorium on short-term rentals and public hearing. This will be presented once again by our friend Alan Glines, Deputy County Manager.
Thank you. Thank you all. We will be asking for a public hearing at our meeting on the 18th to consider a moratorium for short-term vacation rentals, short-term rental uses. There has been a lot of interest in short-term rentals in North Carolina. Recently, in this year, a court case was settled at the appeals court. It was City of Wilmington against a family down there who was running a short-term rental. And the case was sort of settled in favor of the family against the city, requiring that the city down there kind of revamp a lot of their rules about how they organize and manage and enforce short-term vacation rental uses. And so in June of 2021, Burke County adopted some short-term rental regulation ourselves to manage this use in a not identical way as Wilmington, but in some similar features that may no longer be available to Burke County. So what we're asking for is time to review that case, have a 180-day moratorium to kind of look at our code, try to get it right, and make improvements to it. And we'll bring something back to the Planning Board and the Board of Commissioners by April of next year, should we be successful in approving that moratorium.
Gentlemen?
Alan, I keep reading this over and over again, and the word short-term rental, I wonder if that's the best verbiage to put there. What happens if a commercial business wanted to locate it to lake someplace, and maybe some kind of business related to tourism? The way that reads, it more or less reads, it's for business travel and for short-term rental places, but it doesn't say anything about business, which a business could actually go in there. I've read through that about 10 times, and it looks to me like a business could go in there for a short term, maybe just for the season or something, and open something up. I just don't think the word short-term rental probably is the best use of.
Short-term rental is what we have in our code book, and we're kind of enforcing the use of a single, basically a single-family residential home on a short-term basis, typically for vacationers. If a business was operating from up there, we might understand that business to be, what the nature of the business, and is it in the correct zoning, might be for that area, and what kind of activities they would have there. So we do have a lot of uses on the lake that are commercial uses, like marinas, and maybe could be restaurants in the future, campgrounds. But we're not necessarily referring to those. This is mostly the single-family homes.
But I mean, could that cause somebody to argue that case, or get a lawyer and argue that case and say, it just says short-term rental and business travel? I mean, it looks to me like, you could go out there, and if the zoning allowed it, that you could.
So like a business traveler might be able to use that, and they're not necessarily vacationers, so they're okay. I think this is kind of the point of the case, the lawsuit. A lot of cities and counties argue that when you start using your residential use in a capacity as a short-term rental, you're kind of changing the nature of the neighborhood, right? So that was the argument that cities and counties would make. We're becoming a commercial use is happening in a neighborhood setting. And the court, the prejudice of the court, in my opinion, is that no, those are residential users using a home or a residence, so it's not anything different. The fact that money's changing hands is not the factor. It's home use for a family or something, for travelers. So I think that's part of the argument, what we need to sort out with this as we amend our ordinances, kind of like what do we need to do as Burke County to understand this use, and what would be the appropriate level of regulations, if any, that we need for this in light
I wonder
of.
about campgrounds. I mean, how that would play into all that.
Yeah, campgrounds would be a different thing. They're kind of a different category of land use.
Yeah.
So, and we certainly see a lot of interest in campgrounds. We want to support that through our ordinances, and this wouldn't affect that necessarily. So,
I just wonder legally if that's the best verbiage, short-term rental.
we'll look into that. If we need to change the title or make it a little bit clearer, perhaps.
And Ellen, when you do that, would you reach out to Commissioner Abley and run whatever verbiage by him?
Yes.
Please.
Certainly. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Alan, a couple of quick questions, and I guess the first one is, this short-term rental has been floating around through the Commissioners Association for a couple of years now, and it appears to me that someone, some county attorney has developed a model contract for us to copy or whatever. Is there not a model, even the state should have provided us one by now, appears to be.
Well, I think the thing is, different communities enacted ordinances based on their own concerns, and so many of which now might be in jeopardy because of this case. So we have to just study, look for any good precedent about what we think would be appropriate and what's really needed for Burke County. You know, we're not the same as Asheville, we're not the same as maybe Chapel Hill or the beach communities down on the coast. But what do we need for Burke County? That's what it needs to be scaled for and be appropriate for Burke. So we'll have some, we plan to have some community conversations. Some folks are very, very interested in this topic, and you've probably heard from them or will. But we'll try to get the right fit for Burke County is what we
Well,
hope to do.
I agree with that. Burke is a little different, but there should be a base contract that you can modify and work from to
Yeah.
do that. And
We'll see if there's any precedent out there, any kind of model ordinances or something. There might be something out there that we can draw from.
I didn't have time to look it up, but how many, do you know how many counties in North Carolina have already approved a short-term rental policy?
I don't know that. It's been around, you know, working in Asheville like I did for a number of years. 15 years ago, we had lots of conversations about short-term vacation rentals, and it was a big topic up there. And other beach communities were having similar conversations, and other places where people want to be, which includes Burke County. But a lot of folks over time, it slowly grew across the state as people, you know, communities started to adopt some ordinances for this. So.
Well, I understand the concerns that, you know, people are beginning to sue over this issue. I understand the carefulness and the guardianship of that concern. What are the other biggest concerns that we need to look at to get to where we want to be as an agreement, an ordinance?
What kind of things do we need to have in there?
What other concerns other than the safeguard against being able to be sued or?
Right. Well, a lot of communities wanted to have a neighborhood contract, and so if you were a bad neighbor as a renter, as a landlord or a vacation renter operator, your neighbors could complain, and that would make an impact on your ability to keep renting your unit. The trouble is sometimes people abuse that as neighbors, and they just don't like the use at all. So they're gonna, you know, they're looking at the blinds and trying to see how many heads are coming out of cars and how many beds they have, you know, ready to go. So they're turning people in, and it happens all the time. So we really don't want an ordinance that makes it easy. You know, that's counterproductive for everybody to have those kind of issues come up to staff. It's really hard to manage that. So that's one concern. We had in our ordinance today, we have a 3 strikes and you're out scenario. And so the Schroeder case here has said that you're permitted as you know, you can be permitted, but you can't really take it away in a sense. You can do normal notice of violation issues, but you're not closing down that use. You know, if it meets your ordinance, it meets your ordinance. You can't close it down. And so there's a lot of, you know, kind of corrections like that through Schroeder that we need to look at.
So we already have some short-term activity, and they're leasing short-term their homes.
Yes.
You got quite a few people up there that's a second home to them, and it's a way to make some money with the money they got invested in their home up there. So
Yeah.
To them, it's kind of important that we expedite this as soon as possible. But I do commend you on being careful and safe, and let's make sure we got it right so we don't end up in court. So I commend
Agree
you
with
for that. And that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Carswell?
What happens and what does not happen during the moratorium period?
We are not, we would seek to not take any more applications, take any more payments until we sort out what our process is going to be. That's what we want to stay that activity, and also the enforcement part, which I've mentioned the neighbor complaints not going to take that anymore. If we have a safety concern, we'll check out a safety concern, but not just, it's a 6-bed house and I saw 7 people get out of a car. Where's that, they're in violation kind of thing. That's kind of what we're getting. So we will kind of take care of those activities by, if someone wants to submit, we'll let them know we're under a moratorium, give us time, and if needed, we'll ask for payment and proceed with your application, but we're just not going to take any enforcement action for a little while.
So those persons that have already applied and been approved for short-term can still go ahead and have their short-term?
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, one more question I just thought of. Alan, I don't know if you want to do it or not, but just in case you get real lucky and you end up with what you want in 3 months, you might want to say up to 180 days, so you can go ahead with the lease agreements and the short-term rentals a little earlier. That's just a suggestion.
If we can shorten the time period, we will. We won't
All right.
delay it for any reason.
Thank you. Mr. Britton?
Alan, why do you feel like we couldn't do this study and do what we need to do without the moratorium?
Because we're approving them now with a process that may not be required or may not kind of fall in line with this Schroeder case. We have some elements in our ordinance that we will either be picking and choosing what we're going to enforce and what we're not going to enforce and what we're going to do to approve them. And I think some of that's outside of the Schroeder case today. I think we need to have a moratorium so we don't continue to take activities or actions that may not be supported by the courts. And I think that's the situation we're in right now.
So you're saying it's maybe some cases our ordinance may be more stringent than what probably going to be required.
I believe so.
That's what I'm reading between the lines possibly.
Yes, sir.
And my other question is, obviously occupancy tax, keep up with that because of TDA. And, the short-term rentals are gotten to be a fairly large part of our income at Tourism Development Authority. Have you reached out to include Ed Phillips in any of these discussions?
We haven't yet because we haven't really started this, but we will. I know
So he will be included, that's all I'm
Yeah,
asking. Okay,
he will be.
just want to make sure. Okay. Gentlemen, any other questions, comments? All right, Alan, thank you so much,
Thank you.
sir. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda for public hearings. Item number 4, adoption of ordinance updating the Blueprint Burke Strategic Land Use Plan and Future Map. And Alan's getting all the long ones today.
Apologize for taking so much of your time today. Commissioners, thank you again. We are looking at our Blueprint Burke's. It's our strategic land use plan. It's our comp plan. And it was last updated about 2014. And since then, we've had lots of really good news from economic news in Burke County. Lots of growth in permits and other things. So there's lots of things to kind of replace that was not present actually during that period leading up to about 2014. So we've taken this approach to try to update that plan, and this is also to align ourselves with 160D, those legislative amendments to zoning that require a future land use map that is tied to the growth of the county. So I have a question for you. Who uses a comprehensive plan? So certainly staff uses a comprehensive plan when we're developing zoning ordinances or considering zoning amendments, map amendments. We certainly use them. The Board of Commissioners do too, because they have to consider the comp plan when we propose new things for zoning and those map amendments as well. But the other thing I would add here or offer is prospective developers seeking to understand Burke County. When they want to come here and invest, they kind of want to get a feel for what's the priorities for Burke County. Well, this kind of plan is one of those tools that they seek out to understand Burke County better. So it'll help. It'll be some information in there to help them. So we're going to be reaching this point of a future land use map, but first, just wanted to show you a few points from the plan itself. we had a 2020 census, the population, official population is 97,350. Now that's a loss from 2010, and I know we've had some conversations that not everyone agrees with the numbers. It was, the census was undertaken during COVID, and so it was harder to get out.
97 or 87?
It's 97,350 is our population. Oh,
Ah,
am I got that?
87.
87, beg your pardon. I wish it was 97. Okay, I gotta correct that. It's correct in the plan. Labor force, about 40,000 people. And the labor force is anyone who's employed or the unemployed but looking, or folks who are laid off but awaiting callback and age 16 years and older. So that's our labor force. Unemployment rate, it hovers around 3.5%, sorry, and that is basically full employment. It goes up a little bit, goes down a little bit. So it is tough to find staff, and employers are finding that they're having to revamp what they offer to their hires, and sometimes it's money, sometimes it's benefits, or a combination of both to reach their needs for hiring workers. Here's an interesting thing. Millennials make up the largest population group in the workforce today, and that's nationwide. So there's about 74 million millennials. These are folks who were born between 1982 and 1996. They've overtaken baby boomers as the largest percent or cohort group in the workforce. And then in general, Burke County population is trending older, and so we need more of those millennials really here to keep our workforce strong and growing, and also our schools and that sort of thing. It's an opportunity. Throughout the plan, housing is a major theme for the plan. We need all types of housing, single family, apartments, townhomes. People in different points of their life, they are seeking different types of housing units. Sometimes they need apartments when they're younger, getting started. Some folks want a townhome because they don't want to take care of a yard and they're not interested in all that. So we need to offer variety here in Burke County. And we also need a variety of price points. In the plan, we've been able to kind of map and track the cost of housing. It's going way up. We all know that. But we need a variety of price points to kind of meet the need for our folks who are coming here. At certain locations, denser housing will be appropriate. And these might be near our incorporated municipalities and also where water and sewer are available. We also need flexibility in the zoning ordinance, and so over time, staff will be bringing updates to the ordinance for your consideration to support housing. And finally, Western Piedmont Council of Governments, they recommend a yearly goal of increasing our housing stock by 2% each year. This is countywide and it's region-wide. They have those numbers, those goals for Catawba County, for Alexander, Caldwell. And right now, we're not doing bad, but right now we're only building about 1%, replacing about 1% of our housing stock in our community here. And that's across Burke County. So we need to keep up. And what they're saying is that supports that workforce, maintaining the workforce at the present level. And these are housing permits. These are where we've built houses since 2014, and we've counted them all: single family, multifamily, mobile homes. And there's a few green dots there, but they're mostly in our municipalities where they have water and sewer. So they offer options that we've just described. Okay, employment trends. Excuse me. Manufacturing and its related service of warehousing is makes up about 24% of our workforce in Burke County. Healthcare, social assistance, 22%. Retail services has grown over the years. It's 10% of our workforce. We have more to offer retail services here than we used to in the past. And then accommodation and food service, both of those are growing in Burke County, so those are good trends. We're more diverse today in our employment picture than we were in 1990. In 1990, 52% of the county workforce was involved in manufacturing. And as we know, we're all aware of that, what happened when things were offshored in Burke County. A lot of people lost that bedrock of the community and really felt it. So, but we're more diverse today and more resilient today. And then this is some information that's been provided for Burke County. The workforce has slow growth of younger workers while the number of retirees will grow. And this is the period from 2020 to 2040, a 20-year window. And green is 2040, and this is the trend line. So the 18 to 44 population group, it will grow, but it's very moderate over the 20-year window. And then the folks 45 to 64, which is prime working years, people, wrapping up those 20 years of their careers, that number's dropping year by year. But meanwhile, the 65 and older, the retirees, that number's growing. So we need to do what we can to bring the younger folks here, and then their kids will go to school here and all that, support our community. So that's a goal for us. An opportunity is to attract younger millennials who will start families here. And the plan has a number of policies and action steps, and it covers these topics. We've talked about economic development and housing. There's also a section on rural character, transportation, needed infrastructure, which we've talked about in the past, and also recreation and the natural environment. Now, recreation, I have just a slide on that. Recreation-based tourism is part of our economy, and that's part of that accommodation and hospitality trend, and even the housing and short-term rentals and other vacation spots. The good thing about growing this sector is that we have abundance of natural resources. It's a beautiful county. We're so unusual in how beautiful this county is. I've lived elsewhere, and this place is a stunner, so we have a lot of assets. But the good news is that recreation serves tourists but residents alike with so many area attractions and things to do. You don't get bored in Burke County. It also reinforces our message that Burke County is a great place to live, work, and play. So we can really put some moxie behind that and make that make sense for people when they visit here. I think it creates a competitive advantage for new industry, because when they're looking at a place to relocate a community, they want to know what their folks are going to do. They want to know about the housing, but they also know what kind of activities their workers can expect and enjoy. And so when New Belgium went to Asheville from Colorado, that was one of the components, is the lifestyle of Asheville fit the Colorado, the experience of Colorado. They thought, well, we won't have trouble getting workers to come to Asheville because that's a great place. It'll be similar to Colorado, similar but different. Industry looks for that. They want to make sure that what the local community offers is something that their workers will support and enjoy. And then finally, recreation tourism can support entrepreneurship and small business, and we've seen that with restaurants and small businesses and breweries and other activities. So it's a good thing for us. And finally, we have the draft future land use map. This map is sort of the backdrop for zoning changes, and we've studied our current zoning map. We've looked at the future land use map, and we feel that this will be supportive of our work going forward with the goals we have of growing our community and our economy and our housing, and this map will be a tool to help us do that. With that, that's the bulk of my presentation.
Alan, thank you. Any questions, comments, gentlemen?
Good report.
Great report, as Commissioner Taylor said, very thorough, so we appreciate all the work you put into it.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda for public hearings. We'll move on to section 5, consent agenda, proclamation for National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week, and this will be presented by our patient, Caitlin Suttermeyer. She usually can dodge out of here a little earlier, but
I know, I was trying to leave on you.
I know.
I'm
I
gonna
noticed
stay.
that.
This is important.
Muscle response.
Yeah, lots going on down there. So we would like to request a proclamation to recognize November 6th through the 12th of 2022 as National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week. This Animal Shelter Appreciation Week was started by the HSUS Humane Society of the United States back in the 90s, and it was created to acknowledge all the folks who are involved with the animal shelter, promote these animal shelters within the community and across the country, and encourage the public to get acquainted with our animal shelters within our country and, of course, us here in Burke County. We know dogs and cats are beloved pets, and of course, they're the most popular pets in households today. There are still a lot of stray animals within the United States, with about 8 million of those ending up in shelters across the nation, and 3 million of those finding homes through these animal shelters. Throughout the United States. So animal shelters come in all shapes and sizes, nonprofits, which are funded by donations, as well as municipal county shelters, which are funded by taxpayer dollars. Regardless of all of the funding involved in that, we aim to find homes for these stray animals that are unwanted, unclaimed, and also serve as a housing shelter for animals who are just lost at the moment and need a safe place to crash until their families can find them. Animal shelter workers, we work tirelessly to help care for pets within the community, and it's not uncommon for them to advocate for animal rights and safe ways to help control the pet population with education on spay and neuter options and make sure pet owners have appropriate types of identification, including microchipping for pets in case they get lost. With that being said, we would like to recognize November 6th through the 12th as Animal Shelter Appreciation Week and recognize that our Burke County Animal Services Center provides the care that helps bridge the gap to adoption for abandoned and stray animals. We also want to acknowledge the hardworking people locally and across the United States who support the efforts of our shelters, rescues, volunteers, and those who compassionately assist in keeping pets healthy.
Caitlin, thank you. Gentlemen, any questions, comments for Caitlin?
Mr. Chairman, I have one. Caitlin, will you be doing any specials during that week? Like if you want to adopt a dog, it's $10 less, half price. I don't even know what your price is, but will you be doing a feature like that?
That is a great idea and something we have not considered yet going forward with a few of our events, but that is something that we can definitely consider doing.
Yeah,
I think that would be a good idea to raise awareness and promote adoptions.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Any other questions, comments? Then, Caitlin, thank you. Without objection, gentlemen, this item will remain on the consent agenda.
Thanks. If we do that, Maynard, I do have a beagle at my shelter that I need you to come and adopt. So I know you love beagles. Thank you.
Thanks. That brings us to item number 2, BDI MOA Great Meadows, and this will be presented by Hope again.
There we go.
Okay, so BDI and the McDowell County Economic Development Association has been discussing the Great Meadows site. It's approximately 1,400 acres with some of that land in McDowell County. We've been meeting with the owners just to have some discussions on what they are willing to do with the property. This is something that we're considering as a mega park or mega site. The state had come out with funding, and so we would like to have some collaboration between the counties and the EDOs to explore this property and to see what the feasibility is. So we were asking that there be a memorandum of agreement between the parties, just noting that we would be working together, looking at the infrastructure and other due diligence that would need to be completed on this property.
Thank you, Hope. Gentlemen, questions, comments?
Hope, you're at liberty at this point to say how much of that acreage is in Burke and how much is in McDowell?
There's approximately 1,200 acres in Burke County, and the remaining would be in McDowell.
A couple hundred acres. Okay, thank you.
And really the need or why the collaboration is because of some of the infrastructure. We're at the end of the lines at Burke and also end of the lines in McDowell. So that partnership would be nice just to make sure that we're able to move forward.
Gentlemen, any other questions, comments? All right. Hope you did too good a job. No more questions.
Awesome.
Thank you. Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. That'll move us on to item number 3, community development. Helen Glines needs to make another appearance, resolution of support for a rural transformation grant.
Thank you again, They're going to bring a PowerPoint up for me. Here we go. We have an opportunity to apply for a rural transformation grant. I'm not sure how frequently these have come around, but I think it's not that common, but it's the Department of Commerce. And this proposal would not require any money up front at this point, and it actually doesn't even have a community match. It's just a grant for development. And I've drawn something up here. This is Fauna Flora County Park, and this is that Eagle Nest Way. We have our facilities up at the very top, and that's very popular up there. There's a lot of activity and folks using that area to embark on the trail from that location. So this is bringing people eventually deeper into the park to start using the full acreage of our Fauna Flora County Park site. So a little closer in. This is just something I drew up, but it obviously it may change when we get professionals to draw something up for us and design it. But off the road, what we'd have is a playground feature here, be about an acre and a half, with a associated picnic area next door with some, formalized shelters is what I imagine, and a walkabout that would connect into Fauna Flora Trail and end up on the halfway link trail here. In addition to the playground and the picnic area, we'd have parking, and it would be a parking for, I'm drawing there about 75, 80 cars. And we'd have a restroom facility here along with a maintenance, some maintenance facility for recreation, so they can manage and take care of that park if the feature, if we were successful. Overall layout again with this slide is this is the entire county park feature here, and this is Eagle Nest Way. You can see the kind of the ridge lines. This is high, and of course the lake is low, so you kind of see the topography illustrated here. But we have an opportunity to kind of get people close to the loop trail for the lake right here. This would kind of be halfway up. It still has, we have a ton of potential up there that we can do more planning for over time. I want to say I mentioned Duke Energy doing a motorized boat launch, and that would occur right in this area here. So it'd be kind of coming off of Eagle Nest Way, and they've highlighted this area or set it aside for a motorized boat launch. So we would start getting some features and activities there. When the boat launch comes in, it'll bring more people to the lake front there, but this will be different. This will be a playground for families and other folks who live in that upper end of the county. The closest park and playground with a playground for this neighborhood, this area, is 12 miles away down in Morganton. So we'd have a kind of a rare opportunity to provide something for the neighbors up there. So thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Gentlemen, questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, Alan, did you say 75 parking there?
About 75 parking spaces.
That's good.
We need them, definitely. Any other questions, comments, gentlemen?
Thank you.
Alan, thank you. Well, without objection, gentlemen, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Next item, item number 4, general services, engineering, and architectural fees for East Burke Convenience Site. This will be presented by Mark, our general services director. Mark, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be the first time I remember to turn the red light on. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We're getting close to having the necessary documents ready to advertise for bids on both the Jonas Ridge site and the East Burke convenience sites. Among the needed documents for the East Burke site are the architectural drawings. The engineering contract with West Consultants, which was signed back in February, did not include electrical or architectural. Additionally, once the project gets underway, we will need the services of a geotechnical engineer, and a portion of the funds I'm requesting today will be to cover that. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mark. Gentlemen, questions, comments? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
One and done. All right. Well, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda, consent agenda, gentlemen. Next up, item number 5, JCPC, appointment to the JCPC, and this will be presented by AJ.
Good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. Your clerk and the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council have received an application from Jacob Hanlon to join the council, and we're presenting that to you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, gentlemen?
Just one comment. It is interesting to see how our cohorts and other entities are feeling and helping other entities in this case. And in this case, it's from Nikki Carpenter at 4-H agent, so
Right.
who
We
made the
frequently have
recommendations.
a really difficult time getting younger folks on the council, so it's amazing that she was able to help us with
Yeah. But it's nice to see it working.
Gentlemen, any other questions, comments? AJ, thank you. Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. That'll bring us up to item number 6, Tax Department, Tax Collection Report. This will be presented by Dawn Hutchins, Revenue Collection Supervisor. And we've got that in your packet, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, members of the board. This is the collection report through September from July. We're at 71.46% collected. We've collected $32,727,716.44 on the property tax. On the motor vehicle tax, we've collected $2,177,092.39, which is 36.28%. which brings us to a total of 67.38% for both of it. On our delinquent taxes, we're at $276,677.96, or 39.53%, and the late list penalty is $94,908.72, which brings us to 30.13%. But on our property tax, we've collected $32 million, current year, $32,727,716.44, which is 68.45%.
Thank you, Dawn. Any questions, comments, gentlemen? All right, there being none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 7, Release Refund Report.
The releases, we've had $39,720.18. We've rebilled $15,184.31 of it, and the net releases was $24,535.89. And the VTS, which is the vehicles, the refunds are $983.84.
Gentlemen, questions, comments for Dawn? All right. There being none, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you, Dawn. Okay. That brings us to item number 8, Veteran Service Resolution in support of Operation Greenlight. And this will be presented by Roxanne Powell. How are you today?
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to share Operation Greenlight with you today. And I also first want to start with thanking Commissioner Carswell for sharing this with us. Lance Riddle, Molly Eller, our Veteran Service Officer, and myself, we've researched the project and found it to be a really great opportunity for Burke County to show support for our local veterans. So for 1 week, we want to illuminate all the Burke County buildings, as many as we can, with the green lights to show our support. Lance has worked with General Services to create a list of proposed buildings that we believe can be illuminated for Operation Greenlight. We also would like to extend an invitation to the local community, the whole community actually, to encourage their participation as well. We would do that with news and social media. So with the county manager's approved recommendation, we are asking this Board of Commissioners to adopt the attached resolution that's in your packet and declare November 17th through November 13th as a time to recognize our veterans with this Operation Greenlight project.
Roxanne, thank you. Gentlemen, questions, comments? All right,
Thank you.
without objection, gentlemen, this item will remain on the consent agenda. This will move us to section 6, items for decision. There is none today. Item number 7, reports. Reports are needed by October 10th for inclusion in the agenda packet. As we always say, and going to that litter celebration of those folks that picked up all the litter yesterday. There was a lot of bags of litter picked up, and I don't want to spoil Tanya's report, but it was very promising. We had a lot of participation, so that was very good. So just another reminder, don't litter. Please cover your loads, pick up trash if you can. Would remind you to please spay or neuter your pets, and please adopt a pet from Animal Services. This moves us to item number 8, other discussions items. There are none. So item number 9, we will adjourn. We do have a special call meeting, but we'll give Mr. Black back there a few minutes to reboot, so to speak. And so we'll say 5 minutes, but Scott, if you need more time, we'll give you more time. And so at this point, for a regular called meeting, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. That is 5-0, Madam Clerk.